The Detroit Lions have made roster changes this week as they have released veteran linebacker David Long and put him on the waiver wire. David Long was a strong contributor for the Detroit Lions over the last 5 games with a crucial fumble recovery against Green Bay, a couple nice tackles for losses, and overall being a pretty good substitute linebacker for the Detroit Lions. In the wake of that veteran linebacker absence, the Detroit Lions are expected to add to their linebacking core, welcoming back former Pro Bowler, former All Pro, and team captain in Jalen Reeves Maybin, a player that a season ago was one of the Detroit Lions' biggest playmakers on both defense and special teams. Jalen Reeves Maybin was recognized as a team captain, as an All Pro, and as one of the best players on the Lions roster. He is expected to be with the Detroit Lions in preparation for San Francisco this weekend and is more likely than not to return to the team before they travel down to the Bay Area. So today we're going to take a look at the activation of Jalen Reeves Maybin, what it means for the Lions defense, what it means for their playoff hopes, and of course, what it means for this linebacking core that over the year has suffered so many significant injuries. But before we get to that, let's take a look at David Long, a player that was released by the Detroit Lions, but was signed in late November, a player that took the place of Malcolm Rodriguez, Alex Anzalone, Derek Barnes, Jalen Reeves Maybin. In the absence of all of those players, David Long stepped up. He had 7 tackles over his last 5 games in Detroit, 1 tackle for loss, a fumble recovery, was a crucial part of that victory on Thursday Night Football versus the Green Bay Packers. And honestly, I don't think the Lions could have got a whole lot more out of their practice squad linebacker. He was a player that statistically might not have put up very great numbers, but was crucial in big moments, made a couple of really big plays, and I think was everything the Detroit Lions wanted in what was essentially a band-aid signing until they could return some of their playmakers. David Long was, of course, released by the Detroit Lions, but was claimed by the Tennessee Titans, a team where he started his NFL career. And after playing 70 defensive snaps and 58 special team snaps in Detroit, David Long's tenure with the team is over. He's going back to a situation where I believe he can contribute as a veteran presence, a place that he has been very recently as 2 seasons ago, and a place where I think he fits really well schematically, fits really well defensively, and again, will be able to continue contributing on the defensive side of the ball. With that being said, the Detroit Lions' active linebacking core now consists of Jack Campbell, Trevor Nowaske, Ezekiel Turner, Anthony Pittman, Quan Alexander, and Ben Niemann. Jack Campbell, of course, is one of the best young linebackers in the NFL, just surpassed 100 tackles on the season last weekend in Chicago. Trevor Nowaske has been a great waiver wire pickup this season, playing that Sam linebacker position, having a couple sacks, couple of turnovers, and overall being a surprise player for this linebacking court that, again, at the start of the season didn't even include Trevor Nowaske as he was playing out in Arizona. Ezekiel Turner has made some big plays. Anthony Pittman is a recent addition signed from the Jaguars practice squad. He returns as a special teams ace. Quan Alexander has no more time under his belt now, being in the Lions building for a couple of weeks now. And of course, Ben Niemann has been around from the beginning, that special teams player, the linebacker, veteran, the player that has been around the league, is a longtime veteran, a backup linebacker, but has been thrust into the starting role due to the large number of injuries. The Lions will get better this weekend. As Jalen Reeves Maybin returns, he has not played since week 9. He has been designated to return. His practice clock has been started and I believe has been active for about 10 days at this point. And the Lions should be getting 42 back, a player that did suffer a neck injury in Green Bay and has only played 8 games this season for the Lions. He's made 0 starts, but has played 111 defensive snaps, has made a couple of big tackles, has made some nice plays, but unfortunately, right around the time where the rest of the linebacking core started getting injured, the Lions lost their depth before they lost their starters. So they lost Jalen Reeves Maybin in Green Bay, but then the following week they lost Alex Anzalone to Jacksonville, meaning they went from their number 1 linebacker down to their number 4 linebacker, who of course then also suffered an injury. Jalen Reeves Maybin never really had the opportunity to play this season, but will have the opportunity this weekend and likely have a pretty large opportunity going forward through the rest of the season. Now, As I mentioned in 2023, Jalen Reeves Maybin was not only a Pro Bowler, but was named to the second team All Pro team for the NFL. After a season where he totaled 20 tackles, a TFL, two quarterback hits, a sack, and two passes defended, Reeves Maybin was a strong contributor on defense, but most of his impact came with the punt team. Most of his impact came on special teams as he contributed multiple first downs to the Detroit Lions, stole possessions, stole drives, and overall was a massive part of what the Detroit Lions did on special teams. Jalen Reeves Maybin is no stranger to the defensive side of the ball as well. While it is true that he is more of a special teams ace in his career, there have been times where he's been called upon to play linebacker for both the Detroit Lions and the Houston Texans. And just about every single time, Jalen Reeves Maybin steps up to the plate. He's always a player that at the beginning of the year, you talk about as he's the fifth linebacker. He's a special teams guy. He's a great leader, a great player, but his role, his value comes from the special teams. And every single year, whether it be 2021, 2023, or this year now in 2024, Jalen Reeves Maybin continues to have a role thrust upon him and seems to be in a key role on the defensive side of the ball. The last time we saw Germ play really significant snaps on defense was 2021, Dan Campbell's first season as the Lions head coach, where he played in 11 starts. He played in 15 games where he totaled 82 tackles, four TFLs, two forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, and four passes defended in what was by far his best statistical year of his career. This is a season where the Lions were lacking a lot at linebacker, where their only true playmaker was Alex Anzalone in the linebacking core. So Reeves Maybin got a true opportunity. He got a true shot, and I think earned his opportunity. He earned it and made the most of it. 82 tackles is nothing to scoff at. Multiple turnovers forced, multiple big plays in big moments. And number 44 got a pretty sizable contract that year. He signed elsewhere to the Houston Texans. Didn't quite work out in Houston, so he came back to Detroit, and in his first year back was one of the best special teams contributors and a massive playmaker on defense. The Detroit Lions will now welcome Jalen Reeves Maybin back to a team where he adds special teams value, he adds linebacker depth, and of course, more so than anything, he adds the ability to be a captain, he adds great leadership to the defense, and adds a player that knows the scheme, knows the expectations, and has already proven he can step up to the plate, already proven that he can play at a very, very high level, which will leave the Detroit Lions next week with a starting linebacking core of Jack Campbell in the middle, Jalen Reeves Maybin and Trevor Nowaske on the outsides of him, with some rotation from Neiman, Turner, probably Pittman, and a couple of others. But it adds really good linebacking depth. And in a position where the Detroit Lions last week added Ifeatu Melifonwu, and we saw the immediate impact of a player that could play some linebacker, play some safety, add so much versatility to the secondary. I think Jalen Reeves Maybin will do a similar thing. He will add much needed value to the special teams unit that's already playing quite well. He will add some versatility to the linebacking core, allowing Trevor Nowaske to move around, allowing Ifeatu Melifonwu to move around both in the linebacking core and the secondary. And it just adds more quality depth over and over and over again, leaving more ability for Aaron Glenn to call a defense and get the Lions a victory. So, I'm very excited for Reeves Maybin to return. He is, I think, one of the most underrated players on this Detroit Lions team, a special teams ace, a former All-Pro and a Pro Bowler, and really a player that over the last several seasons has done nothing but positively contribute to the Detroit Lions. In other injury news, the Lions are welcoming back a couple of other players, with Alex Anzalone expected to return next week with a broken forearm that he suffered against Jacksonville. It has been about 7 weeks now. Next week will be week 8. The largest expected return time for Alex Anzalone was about 8 weeks. I think assuming that he is conditioned enough and is in football shape, there is no reason not to play Alex Anzalone next week versus the Minnesota Vikings. And I think it is expected for Ennis Rakestraw to return in that time frame as well. A player that suffered a torn hamstring a couple of months ago, hasn't played for the Detroit Lions recently, but would add some much needed depth to the secondary, would give the Detroit Lions the opportunity to again be more versatile in that secondary, and overall just add some quality defensive depth. So with that being said, that is all I really got for you guys today. Just a quick update on the injury return timetables of a couple of players. The Lions potentially returning Jalen Reeves Maybin and being expected to do so this week against San Francisco. The Lions are getting healthy. They're getting linebackers back. They're getting some secondary help back. If they can make it to the NFC Championship or the Super Bowl, they'll be getting some pass rushing help back. And this Detroit Lions defense going into the playoffs is going to be much scarier than the Lions defense we've seen over the last couple of weeks. It's going to be much scarier than the defense we saw versus Green Bay, than the defense we saw versus Buffalo. It's going to look a lot more like the defense we saw in Chicago, a team that allowed 17 points, a team that allowed 3 points in the second half of that football game to close things out. It's going to look a lot more like the defense that played in Indianapolis, the defense that played in Houston, the defense that played early in the season. And it's going to give the Detroit Lions not only a chance to go far in the playoffs, but they're going to give the Lions a true shot at a Super Bowl this year. So with that being said, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know your opinions of the return of Jalen Reeves Maybin in the comments down below. Curious to hear your guys' opinions. But with that being said, that's all I got for you guys right now. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions.